Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of BSing Sports. I'm here with Timmy now.
What up, guys?
A couple weeks here, I was here with Bill, and now I'm here with Timmy. So it's not just at Ryan BSing Sports, what it says down there. It's also at Timmy BSing Sports. Here with us, we have the real Timmy Hawkins.
So Timmy, yeah,
he's
man.
Yeah. Oh. What's going on? So they are brother-in-laws. Timmy and Timmy are brother-in-laws. So this is going to be a really confusing show. They have some really weak names. I know they're nothing like Ryan, which is a strong name. I get that. But no, today we're going to go into a little bit of trades as we always do. We're going to talk about the landscape of what fantasy football is looking like. And we got a who would you rather at each position. So we're going to dive right into it. Tim, first off, what do you make of the fantasy football season this year? Because there's stats showing that, scoring is 22% lower than it has been, in the previous year. So what do you make of fantasy football, guest Timmy and not host Timmy?
Yeah, just call me Timmy Hawk, make it easier. It's crazy. It's all over the place this year. Everything's so unpredictable. Like you think like good players are not playing good. Even like the passing's down, I heard. Like the yards per reception from last year.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, just the production all around is just absolutely insane. We actually have a comment. Okay, our first comment. Welcome on to the show, Mark Grefford. Thank you for commenting, Mark. Please don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 100 YouTube subscribers by the end of the month. We have a prize for the subscribers should we hit that goal by the end of the month. So, Mark Grefford, should I trade Debo for D-Hop? No way in hell. No.
Definitely not. I'm keeping Debo all the way.
Yeah, Debo just has ridiculous amounts of upside. And to be fair, D-Hop, we're not going to expect D-Hop to be D-Hop. Despite the injury to Marquise Brown, I would expect D-Hop to have some rust in the first couple weeks. So I would definitely hold on to Debo. He has the upside in that offense for sure. Everybody in agreement there?
Yeah, definitely.
Jimmy
G really favorited Debo last year, heavy, even with Brandon Ayuk there, and it's going to happen again. I think Debo last week got 8 targets by himself, and Brandon Ayuk only had 6, but Brandon Ayuk had the big touchdown passes. But expect Debo to break out for big yardage, touchdowns easily. They're going to start handing him the ball more again, like last year, to get him going after the last week loss.
Brock, we'll get to your question in a second. Timmy Hawk, should he trade Debo for D-Hop?
No, I'm keeping Debo all the way. San Fran uses him a lot more than Arizona will use D-Hop, I think.
Mm-hmm. Utilize him in different ways. I think he's just a bigger play receiver, too. Brock Goose, I don't want to say that wrong. If it's Brock Goose, awesome. If it's not, I apologize. I'm really bad with names. You should subscribe on YouTube anyway, because that would help us hit our goal at the top of the screen. What's up, fellas? I'm 4-2 PPR league. Need to trade from my running back for wide receivers. Running backs are Mixon, Saquon, Breece, Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, and my wide receivers are Jacoby Myers, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Boyd, Romeo Doubs. Trade Breece Dobbs for A.J. Brown, Chris Olave. Host Tim, I'm going to let you go first on this one. You trading Breece Hall and Romeo Doubs here for A.J. Brown and Chris Olave?
Nah, I'm going to keep Breece Hall and Romeo Doubs, but I would trade Kenneth Walker and D-Hop for A.J. and Chris Olave. I think Breece Hall had so much upside right now with the passing up game from Wilson. The Jets are using him very well out the backfield, catching passes. I think Saquon did a great start. You got Mixon and Saquon, so you want running back heavy to begin with. So, yeah, I'll definitely try to trade Kenneth Walker and D-Hop for like a A.J. Brown, Olave type area, in my opinion. What about you, Tim Hawkins?
I might be honest with you, because A.J. Brown is young enough. He's a stud, and Olave is showing when he's healthy that he can be like really productive. And I just don't trust Dobbs with Aaron Rodgers in that offense. But I mean, Breece Holmes is a stud. Breece Hall, but I think I would take that.
I would actually do this deal as well. I don't trust Romeo Doubs in the slightest. The Packers offense looks so lost right now. They have no clear direction or vision at the moment. Breece Hall, while being otherworldly talented, you're going to plug and play Mixon and Saquon and forget about them. And then, Ramondre and Kenneth Walker is obviously a very sustainable third back. And in return, you're getting 2 receivers that you could start on a weekly basis. I would definitely do this deal. Brock also commented, said he could do Gallup instead of Dobbs. If he'll do Gallup instead of Dobbs, then I would definitely do Gallup instead of Dobbs. I do think Dobbs is a higher upside play than Gallup personally. I think that's the way to go. Definitely package Hall and Gallup for A.J. Brown and Chris Olave, especially with the way your wide receiver room's looking. It's not too doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence.
I'm re-looking at this first message from Brock. He got Mixon, Saquon, and Breece. So I might actually.
And Kenneth Walker, he's got 4 plug-and-play starting running backs on a weekly basis.
Stevenson too.
I like Kenneth Walker a lot.
So you know what? Yeah, Brock, I'd definitely do that trade. Other than I would try to keep Dobbs and give it a Gallup. That Dallas the offense in shambles right now. We don't know when it's going to be back to normal with Dak or anything like that. So definitely go get A.J. Brown and Olave.
Yep. So good question, Brock. Like I said, please don't be afraid to subscribe to us on YouTube. We're here every Wednesday at 6:30 answering all fantasy football questions. So we do have some trades to go over now that we don't have any questions from our fans out there. Thanks, fellas. Subscribe. Awesome. Thank you, Brock.
Thanks, Brock.
Let's see. Present. Share screen. I got to share the screen here, so give me a second, guys. Here we go. Share. I don't know which trade I just picked, so nothing to show here. Excellent. Nothing to show there. Awesome. Okay, so in the meantime, while I'm figuring this out, because we got Brandon over here. We've got Brandon Bragdon. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you for the comment. Please don't be afraid to subscribe on YouTube. If we hit 100 subscribers by the end of the month, we will be giving away a prize. Brandon says, trade Mixon and Najee for CMC and Gabe Davis. Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to let our guest go first. Timmy Hawk, are we trading Mixon and Najee for CMC and Gabe Davis?
Well, is it a dynasty league?
Yeah, I'm going to assume it's redraft. Is it PPR, though? PPR, there's no quarterbacks involved, so I don't care if it's super flex or not. If it's redraft PPR, I think it is time to give up on Najee, in all honesty. I think from a redraft perspective, he's not going to give you a whole lot. The Pittsburgh offense is just going back and forth between quarterbacks. Obviously, Trubisky had to fill in for Kenny Pickett while he was out with a concussion for the rest of the game. Neither one gives me a whole lot of confidence that the offense is going to be fantasy relevant. I do think Pickett is probably the better quarterback at this point in time to go with in that offense, but I just wouldn't trust anybody from a fantasy aspect. And that offensive line is not giving Najee any running room to work with. Najee is actually giving me some really Trent Richardson vibes right now. I don't know if anybody remembers the disaster that Trent Richardson was in fantasy years ago. But yeah, I think it is time to move on from Najee. I don't think you're getting enough back here because I personally am not a Gabe Davis person. Gabe Davis is so boomer bust. I mean, he does not get an elite level target share or even really a good one. I mean, yes, against the Steelers, he popped off, but he only had 3 catches in that game and 2 of them were for long touchdowns. Those plays can be way too hit or miss to really count on that. I would maybe search for a better receiver, somebody that's going to be a little bit more reliant. But if you can get an upgrade at receiver over Gabe Davis, somebody who's a little bit more, consistent, I would make a deal like that for sure. I think it's time to move on from Najee. Tim, what do you think about that?
So yeah, I gotta agree with Ryan that Najee is not it for me right now. He's been very disappointed. The offensive line is not helping him any. But he did catch a touchdown pass last week from Kenny Pickett at first of the year. I still want to trade Najee. If you can get some, I'm not, like Ryan said, I'm not a huge fan of Gabe Davis either. So if you're able to get like a
Yeah,
He's like
well,
wide receiver 2 area, wide receiver 3.
I think he's wide receiver 28 on the season right now.
He only had 2. He had one big game, and that was it.
I mean, he did good on opening night, and then he did good against the Steelers. But
So I will try to go get like a Devontae Smith type of receiver over Gabe Davis, in my opinion. I like Devontae Smith way better. It looked like Jalen Hurts was targeting more than Gabe Davis. So if you can get like a better wide receiver, then yeah, I would take that trade. If not, then it is what it is.
TS and Anthony Ross, we'll get to your questions in a second. Timmy Hawk, are you making a deal like this?
no, I don't think so. I think I need a better receiver.
Yeah, it's the Gabe Davis for me.
Exactly.
I like the idea of selling Najee because somebody out there still values him. I just don't.
Yeah.
The
I have a little value for Najee, but not that.
I just don't have enough faith that he'll be running back 3 again this year.
No.
Good question, though, Brandon. Like I said, please don't be afraid to subscribe and tell your friends about us. This question is from TS. Tua or Carr this week? Ooh. First off, good question. The Dolphins, I have 80 million shares of Tyreek Hill, so I don't understand how I don't know this off the top of my head. So the Dolphins are playing Pittsburgh with a banged-up secondary still. I know their top 3 corners were out last week. Minka was out last week. Didn't seem to matter. The Bucs couldn't get anything going. But so they play the Steelers, and the Las Vegas Raiders play the Houston Texans.
I think I'm going with Carr.
Nah, I'm going Tua still. I think Tua going to have a bounce back game after missing 2 games. He's going to get Tyreek Hill heavily involved to prove that he's still that quarterback that he want to be. Derek Carr, let me think of the word. He's trying to push targets to Devontae Adams in the wrong way. He should not be throwing the ball deep to Devontae Adams ever. Slant routes for days for Devontae Adams. That's why I don't think Carr is going to be that good this week. So give me Tua over Carr.
I'm probably going to – I'll give Tua the nod this week if he plays, obviously, which he is expected to. Tua is getting the nod for me because his receivers provide so much upside for him. I mean, you could hit Tyreek Hill on a screen route, and he's going to go 60 yards to the end zone. Like, it's the quarterbacks are close enough. You got to start looking around like what around them is going to make it happen. That and Josh Jacobs has been leaned on so heavily. I could see the Raiders getting out in front of that game and leaning on Josh Jacobs for the rest of the game, whereas I expect the Steelers and Dolphins to be a little bit more competitive. And without a Dolphins having a true running game, I see them leaning on Tua a little bit when he comes back. So that's a good question, TS. Please subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much. Jumping over to Anthony Ross. Should I trade Jacobs and Stevenson for Evans, Samuel, and Cook? I have CMC and Barkley up front, a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Okay, first of all, you have CMC and Barkley. The other members in your league totally screwed this up.
Definitely. I would try to trade Jacobs. I'm really high on Stevenson because Damian Harris is out, but you still have 2 great 2 front runners, CMC and Barkley. But you need a third running back in that league. I don't know. Oh, you're getting Cook back. Never mind. Is it Dalvin Cook or Jared Cook?
I'm assuming it's Dalvin Cook and not James Cook or Jared Cook.
And Mike Evans?
Yeah.
What Samuel is it? Is it Deebo Samuel or
Curtis Samuel? I'm
thinking Curtis.
I mean, if it's Deebo, then
yeah, you definitely got to take that trade immediately.
You should take that trade right now.
Like,
but if it's Curtis Samuel and Dalvin Cook, I still probably take the package there. I don't think Jacobs' workload is sustainable at the pace that he's at. He's never really produced great peripheral numbers like he has this year. And when Harris comes back, I'm a big Stevenson guy myself, but more as a low RB2 play because Harris will get his touches. That's just where I'm at on that.
Tim Hawkins, what do you do that trade?
Yeah, it's because it seems like he needs the depth at wide receiver. I mean, the depth at wide receiver trumps the running backs.
Yeah.
Because you're getting Dalvin Cook in return, and he's all right. He's not bad to have.
Yeah, Curtis Samuel, Mike Evans, and Dalvin Cook, he says. So, yeah, I would take the package on that deal. That's a great question, Anthony Ross. Thank you so much. I apologize we didn't spend a whole lot of time on that, but that's actually a really good deal for you, so I would take that. Please don't be afraid to subscribe on YouTube. We are here every Wednesday at 6:30. Frosty_02 says, yo, I traded Michael Carter and Tyler Lockett and got Cordell Patterson and DJ Moore. Did I win?
Absolutely not.
Ooh, he says absolutely not. Why is that?
I mean, Carolina's offense ain't doing anything, and DJ Moore ain't even there. At least Geno Smith is throwing Tyler Lockett the ball, and Michael Carter is getting red zone carries a little bit. Cordell Patterson's hurt.
I'm going to say that you had the right idea in selling Michael Carter and Tyler Lockett. I don't think you got enough in return, though. I'm going to have to agree with that.
That's what
Cordell Patterson's hurt, and with the status of the quarterback situation in Carolina, it's really hard to tell. In all honesty, and I never thought that I would say this about any wide receiver in the history of football, Sam Darnold is probably the best bet for DJ Moore because DJ Moore popped off quite a few games with Darnold at quarterback. So that's probably your biggest hope. I don't think you necessarily won this trade, but I think that there is potential for this trade to even up. So I don't think that it was completely awful, but I think on the forefront you lost.
Yeah, so when Cordell Patterson comes back from IR in 2 weeks, I think he's going to take the bulk of the running work again. And like Ryan said, DJ Moore is going to, hopefully with Sam Darnold coming off IR, get big games again. And I need him to go off now too. A couple leagues. I feel you on that one. But I think if DJ Moore could go off like last year, it evens out the trade a little bit more.
Yeah. Thank you, Frosty, for the great question. And don't be afraid to subscribe to us on Twitch, where you came from asking that question. We are everywhere, guys, and we are here every Wednesday at 6:30 answering your fantasy football questions. George Cook, I apologize for you waiting so long. From YouTube, if I have Barkley, Swift, Walker, Pierce, and Sanders at running back, do I trade A.J. Brown and Sanders for Devontae?
That's tough.
Honestly, if I'm trading A.J. Brown and with what Miles Sanders is doing this year, I'm going higher than Devontae.
Like Diggs.
I'm going Diggs. Yeah,
Justin Jefferson.
Diggs, Justin Jefferson. Just a little bit more upside than what Devontae Adams has shown me this year. And I know that he's a very safe and solid play because he gets his targets, but I'm going for somebody who's safe and solid and has upside if I'm trading that. You are deep at running backs. So people in your league are hurting for running backs. You could make a boatload of trades and easily, jump up the value.
Yeah, you might just be able to do a running back for a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce. I mean, these are all guys that are bell cow backs. Wow, you are set up for success, my man.
And you have A.J. Brown, too. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and you have A.J. Brown. And if you think about it, if you flash back to preseason, it's not like he has a bunch of running backs that were obviously RB1s to begin the season. You're talking Walker, Pierce, and Sanders were all late-round picks. A.J. Brown fell in drafts because people were afraid about how the Eagles were going to use him. So, I mean, he got a lot of high upside, potential here that hit really early on in the season. You got a real good team, George Cook.
Yeah, you got them two rookies that really took off.
Yeah. Walker and Pierce. And Pierce is expected to get 20 touches again this week. So we'll see how that goes playing the Raiders. But good question, George. I would definitely make a move for wide receiver. And I would think big here because there's got to be players hurting for running backs in your league. Don't be afraid to.
Wait, one more. Who are his wide receivers? Did he say that?
Yeah. George, if you're still tuning in, could you tell us who your wide receivers are? Thanks for the question, though. If you're not here, he says, I also have T. Higgins. Okay. So with T. Higgins injuries going on this year,
I would do T. Higgins and Sanders for Devontae.
I don't know that anybody would go for that necessarily because T's been on and off the field. When he has been on the field, he's been good. But yeah, I would definitely look to go get another receiver, just in the general landscape for sure. A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Brandon Cooks, Isaiah McKenzie, and Romeo Doubs. Yeah, definitely got to go get another receiver. Very running back heavy. But you have solid team, man. You're set up for success. I'm curious as to what your record is in that league. If you could reply to us with your record in that league. Thanks again for the questions. We're here every Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern time. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Check us out. Ask all questions that you got every week. We are here all the time. Big Football asks, what is Dawson Knox' current trade value non-tight end premium league? Dawson Knox's value, honestly, is the same exact as it was last year. Yes, he was tight end 8 last year. I know that. He finished the season with 72 targets, which is not anything to write home about. And actually, his current pace for this season is 72 targets. So he's seeing the football go his way just as much this year as he did last year. He's going to be that low tight end 1, high tight end 2 range. He's going to be very touchdown dependent. And with the way that the tight end landscape has shaped out to this point this year, where if you don't have Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, or Zach Ertz, you're basically just hoping that your tight end scores a touchdown, because outside of that, tight ends are scoring 4 points a week. Mm-hmm. Kyle Pitts has fallen flat on his face. I mean, Dawson Knox, who had 8 touchdowns last year, isn't doing as well as he was this year. So really, you're just hoping that unless you have one of those big 3 names, you're just hoping that your guy doesn't give you a complete flop.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan said. I denied a trade for Dawson Knox earlier. It was a 24 third, and I said no because I already had Zach Ertz. I got Tyler Conklin for 1 week. That I don't need the Zach Ertz. So we talked about training for tight ends on this show a couple weeks ago.
We've been talking about it all day today.
Yeah, I know you have. but we talked about it on the show, saying it's not really ideal unless you can get Kelce, Andrews, or Ertz to trade for a tight end, especially in non-tight end Premier Leagues at that. So I would say wide receiver 3 type area. If you want to trade Knox, get like a Gabe Davis maybe.
I would keep Gabe Davis over Dawson Knox.
What about like a Terry McLaurin? What about like a Terry McLaurin or McLaurin?
McLaurin, easy.
Yeah,
he brought up Darnell Mooney. That's probably the area where I'm at, because until they prove some sort of consistency, I don't have any faith in the Bears offense either. He's somewhere in that neighborhood. Like I said, the whole landscape for tight ends this year has just taken a huge crap right before our eyes. It's a nightmare for tight ends. If you don't have any of the big 3, I wouldn't even try and trade them away, because you're not going to get any value, and I wouldn't try and trade for them, because whoever you got is probably equally as good. Like if you have Mike Gesicki or Dawson Knox, which we will hopefully talk about later in the show, I don't know. Like there's no right or wrong answer there, and that's just kind of the way that the market's played out for tight ends. So good question, Big Football. Don't be afraid to subscribe on YouTube. Help us get to 100 subscribers. When we get to 100 subscribers by the end of the month, we have a prize coming out. So Anthony Ross says, should I drop Melvin Gordon then? The other options are Rachaad White, Corey Davis, Michael Gallup, and Wan'Dale Robinson. If those are your options, I'm keeping Melvin Gordon all day.
See, I'm big on Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's the only wide receiver in the Giants wide receiver core right now, and none of them are coming back anytime. Tony might come back sometime soon, but I still think Robinson's a better slot receiver than Tony. So I would drop Melvin Gordon and get Wan'Dale Robinson. What about you, Tim Hawkins?
I actually think Mike Gallup. I think with Dak Prescott coming back, I think the offense is going to open up a lot more. And I think he's going to get more targets. I mean, they didn't just sign him to that big contract for nothing.
That's true.
True, yeah.
Bronco plays on YouTube. That's a good question, Anthony. Thank you so much. Thank you for the sub. We appreciate your question. Bronco Plays on YouTube says, standard 8-man league. Who I trade away and for who? Thank you. 3 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. Small starting lineup for an 8-man league. Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Jeff Wilson, Cordell Patterson, Kareem Hunt. Solid running back room. Wide receivers, Mike Williams, Courtland Sutton, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith. Well, I'm definitely moving a running back for a receiver. Yeah. 100%. For an 8-man league, especially, your receivers are paper thin. They're probably killing you this year if I had to take a guess. I'm going to look to the Elijah Mitchell owner and see if he has somebody that I can trade Jeff Wilson for, or maybe somebody has faith in Cordell Patterson. Those last 3 names, the Jeff Wilson, Cordell Patterson, Kareem Hunt, are the first 3 that I would shop around for. Mm-hmm. I would see if anybody overvalues them and are willing to give up somebody in the wide receiver 2 range. or if you can package one of those three with one of your wide receivers, get a Kareem Hunt and Mike Williams for Mike Evans, who is going to be consistently a wide receiver one, somewhere in that neighborhood. I would definitely look to upgrade that receiver room though.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ryan. That, like you said, trade the bottom three. But you have, Dalvin Cook really hasn't been great this year. He had 2 big games lately. So maybe even, never mind. Definitely trade the bottom three, Jeff Wilson, Crowder, Patterson, Hunt. I like Ryan's trade right there, Hunt and Mike Williams for Mike Evans. I might even go Jeff Wilson and Devontae Smith for Mike Evans, who was another AJ Brown area type wide receiver. I think that'd be pretty good on that one. What do you got, Tim Hawkins?
Yeah, just like you guys said, I would try and trade one of the bottom three and maybe package them with Sutton, maybe, because Broncos offense is a little. See what you can shop around, see what you can get with them. I would say maybe like a Debo-ish.
I don't agree with that. So Sutton was wide receiver 12 until last week, and he got all the targets from Russell Wilson. He only had 3 targets last week with the disappointment because he was on my team. But I traded for Sutton, and I think he's still going to do good even with a bad Broncos offense.
Well, he's trying to upgrade his wide receivers, right? So I running back and Sutton for a better wide receiver.
It's possible. I personally would probably pick other options on my team first because a lot of people think the same way that you do, Tim, and they fade the whole Broncos offense. So even though Sutton is producing because he is getting the targets, there's a lot of people out there who think, oh, the Broncos offense sucks and Courtland Sutton's not going to do anything because they don't score any touchdowns, even though he is producing. So if there is somebody that values Courtland Sutton appropriately, then maybe look into that. However, I would keep Sutton because he's going to produce for you, and he's probably undervalued on the market at this point just because the Broncos offense has been in complete shambles. We do have to move on, though. We have a few more questions. Good question, Bronco Plays. Please help our subscriber count on YouTube.
Go to his comment.
That would be we're going to go to that one. Okay. That would be, really awesome. Like I said before, 100 subscribers by the end of the month, there's a prize coming out. Big Football on YouTube says, who's the most valuable if you're in Win Now Dynasty, Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews? It's Kelce. It's not close by a mile because he's the only real weapon in a very elite offense that likes to throw the ball a lot with a high-level quarterback. It's Travis Kelce.
And he gets all the red zone targets.
Yeah, he's in a tier by himself right now as far as tight ends go. Any format, standard, PPR, redraft, dynasty, he is by himself. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan said. Kelce up top. It's Kelce, Andrews, and then so it's Kelce top tier, then Andrews underneath of him, and then you go to the other guys like Ertz, Goddard, Ty Hawkinson's. What do you got, Tim Hawkins?
Yeah, I agree with you guys too. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. He gets all the red zone touches also. Like one game he had 3 touchdowns for 17 yards.
Squat.
Anthony Ross, to answer your question real quick, to go back to your comment real quick, should I drop Melvin Gordon? The other options are Rachaad White, Corey Davis. I'm picking Rachaad White here because, yes, he is getting more work in the backfield, but he doesn't have any clear path to fantasy relevance unless Leonard Fournette gets hurt, in which case, or at which point in time, it might be, a little bit more difficult to pick him back up, but you're pretty good at running back anyway at that point. So
this one right here. Mm-hmm.
George Cook says, is Sanders and Cooks enough to get a guy like Evans? Maybe. If the Evans owner is deep at receiver and he's hurting at running back, that might work. I think in a vacuum, which let's clarify this right now, there's no such thing as in a vacuum because everybody has circumstances and situations. But in a vacuum, probably not. But if, like I said, that Evans owner is hurting for running backs and he's deep at receiver, he might be willing to part ways with Evans because similar to Courtland Sutton, the Tampa offense being in shambles right now kind of lowers Evans' value a little bit. It drops his ceiling some.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. I'm really high on Sanders this year. I made a couple of stupid bets beginning of the season about Sanders being running back 1, running backs 1 through 12. That's what I mean by that.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm winning the bets, so good for me. So hopefully, you keep up the productivity. He is running back 8 right now in PPR's stand-up format. So he has some value, and Brandon Cooks hasn't been doing as good as I thought he would this year. It looked like David Mills is targeting Nico Collins a lot more. So yeah, I would try to do like a Mike Evans, but if not, try to go get. I think Mike Evans is better than Debo, so maybe go get Debo with that. We got Tim Hawkins.
If I need running back help, I'll take that. If I got good wide receivers, if I got good running backs and Evans is still there, no, I wouldn't do it. I would do it for like maybe AJ.
Okay. Yeah, AJ,
I like that.
AJ's got upside.
I like that.
Yeah, AJ's a high upside play. Thank you for your question, George. Bronco Plays says, I might do Cook for Kenneth Walker and Debo. Then he says, thanks, guys. Anytime, Bronco. We are here every Wednesday. Tron on YouTube says, Swift for Amon-Ra. My running backs are JT, Pierce, Etienne, and Rashad White. Wide receivers are Deontay, Hollywood, London, Gabe Davis, full PPR.
Right now, before last week, I'm going to say Brown was wide receiver 10, if I'm not mistaken. He missed one game. He was wide receiver 3 before he missed that one game. I'm going to say Brown for Swift any day of the week, especially because your wide receivers aren't that good, especially because Hollywood Brown just got hurt. I would definitely take that trade. If he sent that, I would smash that accept button any day of the week. What do you think, Tim Hawkins?
Yeah, I'm taking that just because my wide receivers are Dante, Hollywood, London. London barely played this. He's like off and on with little injuries there and then. Gabe Davis is boomer bust. Even ETA right now is boomer bust. He's untrustworthy to have confidence in him starting, but he's starting to pick up. And you got JT coming back. You got Pierce. Yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Amon-Ra in this deal. Look, I know losing Swift would hurt, but JT and Pierce are a solid 1-2 running back. Look, JT had a slow start to the year outside of week 1. We know that. The Colts offense will figure it out. I think that they'll start running the football through JT a little bit more. They'll start getting him involved in the passing game. I think these last couple of weeks where he hasn't been healthy have kind of opened the Colts' eyes to realize how much of a necessity he is. They started using Deion Jackson in a way that's similar to how they would use JT when he comes back. I think you're pretty safe here taking Amon-Ra's side, especially with Hollywood's injury. He was really your only consistently reliable wide receiver to this point. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Anthony Ross checks in. Big football. We'll get to your question in a second. Anthony Ross checks in, says, guess I need to drop a wide receiver, drop Davis, Gallup, or Robinson. That'd be Wan'Dale Robinson. He said, I guess Corey Davis is the least upside.
I don't think so. Corey
I'm
Davis.
dropping Robinson.
Out of those three, I'll drop Wan'Dale, and here's why. I know Timmy's point was that he's the only wide receiver healthy in the wide receiver room for the Giants. I get that. I understand. However, the history of guys, and this is going to sound really breakdowny and nerdy, so bear with me. The history of guys that are 5'7" or smaller being fantasy relevant is so little. Like there's like maybe one guy on that list that might be Darren Sproles. If you're that small in the NFL, you're a gadgety player. You don't get utilized enough on a consistent basis to be able to stay fantasy relevant. And that offense runs entirely through Saquon Barkley. I mean, he takes half as many quarterback snaps as Daniel Jones does. So to me, Wan'Dale Robinson's the drop here. Yeah, he had a good game, his first game in the NFL last week. Don't let that fool you. I don't think that there's any sort of long-term consistency there. And if that ends up being incorrect, obviously I'll come on the show and say I was wrong, but I don't think I am.
Yeah, like Ryan said, I like Corey Davis in that offense with Zach Wilson. So I would definitely drop Wan'Dale Robinson over Michael Gallup, Corey Davis, and D-Hop. No, not D-Hop. I'm sorry.
No, it's drop Davis, Gallup, Robinson. All right, Tim, who you dropping?
I'm driving Robinson. I agree with you guys. I like Gallup and Davis's upside over Robinson's.
Yep. Thank you, Anthony, for checking in. Like I said, we're here every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern time. Tron came back and said, yeah, I was thinking also Jamal Williams. That's the other point I wanted to make is that Jamal Williams takes all the goal line touches. Like, I think DeAndre Swift has one goal line touch.
He does.
This year. So he loses a lot of touchdown upside. He's relying on big plays to score touchdowns. So I would definitely make that trade and keep that status secret for the guy that you're trading DeAndre Swift to. Thank you for the question, though, Tron. We do have another one right up here. Big Football says, what would you say is the best buy low player in the league right now and who you genuinely believe will be a superstar either this year or next year? Tim Hawkins, I'll let you go first. Who's the best buy low player right now?
Buy low player right now. That's tough. That's a lot of players. Who do I think?
Best buy low player. And my answer is going to depend on format
Let
too.
somebody else go first. Let me think about this one.
My best buy low player right now is Jameson Williams on Detroit Lions. He's coming off of IR right now. He hasn't got any targets. We won't see what he can do until I think this week or next week. And next year, I think he's going to explode, especially if they don't keep Goff as a quarterback.
Depending on format, that could change my answer. However, I'm just going to, again, make a blanket statement. It's Hollywood Brown. If you're in redraft, like, the guy is not going to be used for at least the next 6 weeks. I mean, I know that the injury term is out indefinitely, but it sounds like 6 to 8 weeks. Right now is the time to go get him. Obviously, if you are in redraft, people have to make moves quickly. So they're looking to find a quick replacement for Hollywood. If you have a solid team and you can afford to trade away some depth that will help the other team and in return get a guy like Hollywood Brown was going to lead this team in targets when DeAndre Hopkins came back. It's just the way that the Arizona Cardinals offense moves. They're a spread offense. They like to throw the football deep, and Kyler Murray's good at it. And that's exactly what Marquise Hollywood Brown was brought to do. This is a guy they traded a first-round pick in the NFL draft to go and acquire, and you don't just do that for rentals or guys that you're just not going to involve. I think that right now in this current state, he is the biggest buy low player. And you can make the same argument for Javonte Williams. However, J.K. Dobbins is showing us with a very similar knee injury with the ACL and the LCL and a little bit of hamstring damage that it's not a good comeback. So right now, Javonte Williams is kind of out for me the rest of this year and all of next year.
I like your take, Ryan. Definitely like that. We got Tim Hawkins.
You know what? Speaking of J.K. Dobbins, I think I might go with J.K. Dobbins with the injury problem. You know, people are like, is he going to do it? Is he good this year? Like, I have him on a fantasy team this year, and I don't even, like, on a redraft, and I don't even know if I could start him.
Then, yeah.
But in Dynasty, I think he'll get it together next year when he's fully healthy, when he has a full season underneath his belt.
I like that take. And the Ravens are helping him right now by splitting a lot of carries. Right now, he didn't practice today with a knee injury, unfortunately. But I think he would probably sit out this week, unfortunately, for people who have J.K. Dobbins shares.
Yeah.
I have 5 of 6.
I definitely think he's going to be sitting out this week, trying to let that knee heal up a little bit more. So if you're able to get Kane, can't pronounce his first name. Can you for me? Drake.
Oh, Kenyon Drake.
If you can get Kenyon
Drake, yeah.
If you get him, I would off the waiver wires because not a lot of people are going to be stacked on the backup running back, in my opinion, especially in redraft. But I love both of you guys' takes on that. I get one with a rookie that hasn't played yet because I've been really interested from the national title game last year and the bowl game that Alabama and Georgia played, how good Jameson Williams was.
I know. I got him on a couple teams waiting for him to come.
Yeah, I like Jameson Williams. I think, truthfully, if you're in redraft, he's not one of those guys that you should pick up and start right away. I don't believe that he will have any sort of fantasy relevance this season. I think he's going to be getting his feet wet in the NFL in regards to the speed of the game, coming off an injury. I would give him a full offseason before I set some real expectations for him. And who knows what the quarterback room in Detroit's going to look like next year. So I would proceed with caution on Jameson Williams for the rest of the year. That's my take on it. Although he's a very explosive player. He could come out and he could just absolutely go bananas, which is definitely in the realm of possibilities. But I think with that knee injury and him not having played a snap in the NFL, this isn't a veteran that got hurt. This is a guy that hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. So I would temper expectations on Jameson Williams for this year.
I also have one more. What about Tyquan Thornton from New England?
Good. He's a good deep stash. He's got the size. He's got good speed. He was in a smaller school in college. He didn't really put up great numbers.
Last week.
Yeah.
I think next year he'll be at least number 2 there. Maybe even number 1.
I think everybody in that wide receiver room is the number 2 there. I don't think that there's a clear-cut number 1 in New England. But it's possible. I mean, it just depends on what kind of offense they want to run. I mean, they run the ball so much in New England. It's just hard to trust. And Mac Jones isn't the most explosive quarterback, or Bailey Zappi for that matter. But there's just not a lot of explosiveness. There isn't a lot of faith in the wide receiver room there right now. Tron asks, in the Amon-Ra trade, I think I could get Amon-Ra and Aaron Jones for Swift and Drake London. If this is redraft, I'm taking the Amon-Ra and Aaron Jones side. Look, Tim hates Aaron Jones, and I'll let him get into his own piece. Aaron Jones is an elite level running back in an offense that's struggling right now. They're going to turn it around eventually. They're not going to continue to proceed to fall on their face over and over and over again. He gets the receiving work. He gets goal line work. He gets red zone touches. I would make this move in redraft. I expect Aaron Jones to finish in the top 12 running backs rest of season. I expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to finish top 12 wide receivers rest of season. I can't confidently say that about the other 2.
Yeah, if it's redraft, I'm definitely taking a trade. Even though Ryan said I'm not high on Aaron Jones, I have him in a couple leagues, and he's been very disappointing to me.
I'll take it.
But I still think if Green Bay can figure out what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to get it going for them. Yeah, I'm definitely taking that trade, especially with St. Brown involved. What do you think, Tim?
If it's redraft, I'm taking it. But if it's dynasty, I don't think I am, because Drake London's young, and he's really the only receiver Atlanta has. And with Amon St. Brown, Detroit is going to have a lot of weapons next year. Williamson's going to be back. They got Hawkinson. They'll still have Swift and Williams. So if it's redraft, I'm taking it. If it's dynasty, I'm not.
Okay. Yep, I'm in agreement there.
Yeah, so am I.
Anthony Ross says, do you guys dabble in dynasty? Is it weird to start a dynasty league? I'm trying to get one going next year. I will jump in right here and say that collectively between the 3 of us, we're in about 20 dynasty leagues. That's actually all we play for the most part is dynasty.
Yep.
I prefer dynasty to redraft because it keeps people involved throughout the year. Mm-hmm. If you go 0-6 in redraft, your season's over. You got nothing to play for. You got no moves to make. However, if you go 0-6 in dynasty, there's still a reason for you to pay attention. You know, you got to pay attention to rookies. You can still sell off some of your high assets for trade or for picks. You can stay active throughout the year. It gives you a purpose throughout the whole season. We definitely prefer dynasty to redraft here at BSN Sports for sure. Anthony Ross, we are actually going to start another dynasty league next year. We're looking into it anyway. If you would like to join, DM me on Twitter for details. That's at Ryan BSN Sports. You can also DM Tim here on Twitter. It's Tim sucks at fantasy football.
I think mine is at Tim Brandt 95.
Yes.
For right now. I will be getting a BSing Twitter coming soon, I promise.
Yeah, so we definitely dabble in dynasty. That's actually what we do most of the time. And if you're interested, like I said, shoot me a DM on Twitter. We'd be interested in talking to you about it. Good question, Anthony. So if you have any dynasty questions, feel free to ask. Mm-hmm. Speaking of dynasty questions, Big Football from YouTube asks, I was offered a mid to late 23 first and Aaron Jones for Christian McCaffrey, otherwise known as CMC, in a 10-team PPR, point per reception, no tight end premium or superflex league. Thoughts? ? My thought is go onto your app and hit the accept button as fast as possible.
Yeah, Tim. I'll let you go.
Uh, what's his record?
Yeah. What's your record? Where are you at on that? I think in a vacuum, this isn't easy, but like I said, nothing's in a
But
vacuum.
regardless, I think I would still take it. I like Aaron Jones over CMC, and you're getting a first.
I like CMC over Aaron Jones. I think CMC has the RB1 potential, whereas Aaron Jones is probably limited to top 8 somewhere in that neighborhood. However, getting that 23 first is huge. You know, when you're swapping RB1s for RB1s and you get stuff in return, to me, you're taking half a step back to take one giant leap forward, especially with the way the 2023 class is looking to pan out. So you got a lot of good running back prospects, specifically projected to be late in that first round. And if it's a super flex or tight end premium league, there's other options there as well. So I would accept this trade regardless. But that's just me.
Now, like both of you said, it depends on the record. If you're, let's say, 6-0 and you go into a championship at the time, you think you're going to the championship, I'm keeping CMC. He got more productivity over Aaron Jones in the first 6 weeks of the football season. I don't care about the 23 first right now. I want to win. If you're a win now team, I want to win.
He says, my other running backs are Barkley, Kamara, Mixon, Henderson, and Gordon. I have no picks next season. Yeah, do this trade in a heartbeat. You have startable running backs. I think Kamara bounces back rest of season. If he doesn't, you have Mixon and Barkley, who's producing at RB1 rates as well. Him and Nick Chubb going stride for stride there. Gordon is going to start again this week. I think that not the Giants.
They had a good talk.
The Broncos really screwed that one up. I think Nathaniel Hackett sat down with him and realized that he's the starting running back there. So
now, what
that LA passed up on Akers, and Henderson is going to be getting most of the carries there too.
Well, Akers is going to be out of LA here soon. I think that there's some personal issues going on there, and he needs to get out of LA. So
it's like a Calvin Ridley type of deal right now with that. But I wish I would have saw that comment before I said I'm keeping CMC. Since he had Barkley, Kamara, and Mixon already, I'm trading CMC, getting that first at that point.
For sure, dude. I'm taking Aaron Jones in the first there all day, especially with no picks next year. You can easily replenish. Z Money. Hey, this guy was on last week, 2 weeks ago. Z Money XV. Welcome back, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, and Singletary running back room is stacked. And then the next comment is trade Sutton for Stevenson, standard league with 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. Thanks. I'm taking, based on your team need, I'm taking the Sutton side.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I'm taking the Sutton side on that. I think Sutton's going to get the targets from the Broncos.
Standard, it's not PPR. So
I'm still taking the Sutton side. I think he's going to Stevenson's going to be splitting carries once Damian Harris come back anyway. Until next season, in my opinion. So take the sign. I think he's going to be good still either way.
Yeah, I agree with you guys both. His running backs are pretty stacked already. Take the wide receiver.
Yep. CD Smitty from YouTube. Good question. Z Money. Good question. Bronco plays. Thanks for checking back. Sorry, my bad. I don't know what I was reading there. Guess I can't read. CD Smitty from YouTube. Thanks for checking in, CD. Do I trade D-Hop for Kyler? My QB is Rodgers right now. If this is a single quarterback league, hell no. No. In my opinion, no. I don't ever trade for quarterbacks in single quarterback leagues. I think you're better off either streaming them or just sticking with what you got at this point. There's always going to be a top 12 guy, for the week sitting on the waiver wire. So that's just me. I don't trade for quarterbacks in single quarterback leagues. What do you guys think?
I'm not going to do it. Kyler and Rodgers are pretty much the same right now, how they're playing. So it really doesn't do nothing. I'm not going to risk losing D-Hop for a lateral move.
So right now, Aaron Rodgers is actually playing better than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray got the up and rush shot, rushing upside, a part of that, unfortunately. But like Ryan said, I'm not trading for a quarterback in a single quarterback league. Like, for instance, I'm in one right now in Dynasty. I got Patrick Mahomes. No one's trading for him because I want 2 first-round picks for him. And I know it's overvalued, but I'll interpret someone would pay it.
it's so hard to trade for quarterbacks
Exactly.
in one quarterback dynasty leagues, though. Like, all you need is 12 guys, and anybody on the waiver wire, like, look at guys like Jared Goff and Geno Smith. So, but yeah, good question, CD. Thanks for checking in. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Like I said before, we're trying to hit 100 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the month. We have a prize for, a random follower in those 100. So thank you. Z Money XV says, should I start Mixon and Pierce, use the flex for Walker, or have D-Hop, Pittman Jr. as the flex, and the flex as Olave? If it's PPR,
Who does Seahawks play?
If it's PPR, I'm probably going the wide receiver here. I'd actually probably go with Chris Olave in the flex. I know Andy Dalton. Actually, let me rephrase that. Final answer. If Jameis Winston starts, I'm going Chris Olave in the flex. If Andy Dalton starts, I'm going Ken Walker. And why I say that is Andy Dalton limits the upside Chris Olave has. Chris Olave is a very good deep threat, and Jameis Winston has the ability to push the ball downfield, whereas the Red Rifle just doesn't.
Yeah, Andy Dalton checks down about to Alvin Kamara. What you saw last week when Kamara had a lot of receiving yards. But if Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas are out, would probably starting Olave in the flex. But on the opposite end, Kenneth Walker is facing a weak Chargers defensive running game. Who gave up a lot of rushing yards to Nick Chubb. Who else did they give up to?
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
They're not that good.
Yeah, the Chargers running defense isn't that good, but the passing defense is better than the running defense. So if Seattle can get the running game going, which I think they can, it's going to be a tough choice with Kenneth Walker getting mostly carries out of the backfield right there. So
look, the Seahawks have the worst defense in the NFL statistically, even worse than the Lions. They've countered that by averaging almost 30 points a game scored on offense. They're going to move the ball on offense. They're going to score points. At this point, we have to assume that that's a trend and not a flaw.
True.
Ken Walker's going to get the work.
But like Ryan said, if Jameis Winston playing this week, Chris Olave is the must start because he will throw the ball deep.
And he's the only receiver. Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas are out. Who you flexing, Walker or Olave?
Well, I'm agreeing with you, Ryan. If Winston is playing, I'm going with Olave or Olave. Because all Winston does is throw deep. That's all he looks for every time. So that connection will be there all day.
Yeah, we got another question. This might be the last one we take. No, actually, that's a lie. I lied there entirely. Exeter Orbit on YouTube says, do I start Hill or Hawkinson? Yes. I was waiting for somebody to ask about Taysom Hill. Who do we start, guys? Taysom Hill or TJ Hawkinson?
I'm going Hawkinson.
It depends if Jameis Winston is playing for me. It look like other than Taysom Hill has the rushing ability that Hawkinson don't, the throwing ability that Hawkinson don't. And the way they used him 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks, actually, if they use him like he did that, I'm starting Taysom Hill.
So the rumors spreading around are like what the football community is feeling is that Andy Dalton is going to start again. So I would definitely go Taysom Hill in that case. Mm-hmm. Which is so weird, man. But look, the dude gets carries, and he gets carries near the goal line. TJ Hawkinson, to me, is actually the most overrated tight end in all fantasy formats, both redraft and dynasty. If you subtract one big week from him, he hasn't done nothing for you. Just like the rest of the tight end world, they haven't done anything for you. With Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift coming back, I expect that to get even smaller. Hill's the upside play here for me by a lot, in my opinion. It's not really close.
Yeah, I'm going to change my answer. It depends who's playing quarterback.
Yeah, if it's Dalton, the start is Hill. If it's Winston, it's Hawkinson.
Yep.
Yeah, Anthony Ross says, "Gotta love Hill having 40 fantasy points in a single game, still being completely irrelevant." Seriously,
I had him on my bench that day too.
I think I was playing you that day. Thankfully, you had him on your bench. Probably still beat me anyway. Anyway, so we have no listener questions at this very second. So let's do who would you rather. My first one, since we're dynasty guys, let's get to it from a dynasty aspect. Would you rather have Geno Smith or Jared Goff?
Go ahead, Tim.
Going Goff. I think Detroit will throw more than Geno. Man.
You looking like this is easy for you.
It is.
This year? Just for this year? Is it just for this year?
It's from dynasty aspect.
I'm going Goff then. I think Goff could be starting next year. I don't think Geno is the guy really in Seattle.
My lovely take right here. Listen, when I say this, Geno is playing out of his effing mind right now. But I'm still taking Goff. Goff is the more dynasty relevant quarterback right now. Because you don't know if Geno is going to be starting next year on any team or a backup. I think Detroit Lions, Jared Goff had proven himself enough that he wants to be a starting quarterback, and he will be a starting quarterback next year.
Before I give my answer, Extra Orbit on YouTube says, and do I start Rodgers or Prescott?
Rodgers.
I'm going Rodgers here until I see something from Dak Prescott myself. Mm-hmm. Good question, though. Thank you again. Please subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for all your questions today. And my answer is Goff. A lot of it has to do with age. Geno Smith is 32. Goff's 27. Goff has a big contract. Geno Smith doesn't. Truthfully, what I think can happen for both is that the current teams that they're on, they draft quarterbacks in this coming draft, and Goff and Smith act like bridge quarterbacks where they start next year. The young quarterback takes a chance to learn, whether it's Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, whoever the quarterback that they may draft is. And I think that they start next year for their current teams. But after 2023, it gets a little bit more murky for me. So I am taking Goff, though. I think that he is just being younger. I think he has a chance to stay around in the league longer.
Yeah, I think Geno is going to do what Teddy Bridgewater did. He had that good year with Nola, paid it off to get a starting job in Denver, and then lost it.
Who would you rather have dynasty format, James Robinson or Travis Etienne?
I'm taking Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne is going to take over that backfield eventually. Not this week, not next week, but the following weeks after that. He already taken more carries, more snaps, more receiving yards, and he's looking more healthier as the season goes by. At James Robinson, he's not getting the yard after contact like he has in the past. Travis Etienne has. He's been running the ball very well, 50 yards, 40 yards, after completing passes. He's looking very well off of that Achilles injury last year. I think it's Travis Etienne time. Tim?
I agree with you, because I think ETA is more dynamic than Robinson. I think Robinson is going to be more of a downhill runner. ETA can do it all. You can catch, run down the middle, you know.
Football letter. That's all he does. No. He gave it a whole way.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm going Etienne here as well. He's the big play. He's the upside for sure. We'll have to call out. Thanks, Ty. Thanks for checking in, buddy.
I appreciate it, Ty.
Yeah, thanks for checking in, Ty. So Big Football on YouTube says, what's your guys' opinion on something like a weekly letter or something for a fantasy football league? I'm actually in a league where this commissioner does this really awesome job at providing his own weekly letter because he's much more creative than anything Sleeper can provide for us. Mm-hmm. And he's my real hero in life, and I look up to that man. So thank you so much, Ty Hossman. You're the man. Please marry me. Thank you.
Yeah, Ty. I mean, big football. I really liked how our commissioner is doing it once a week. We have to get on him a couple times. He's slacking here and there, making a late Friday pick or something like that. But he had the dimension of my underrated team, and I'm very mad about that.
I have no idea how your team's 5-1. Anyway, last, who would you rather? Because we are at an hour and we would like to spend some time with our families. Who would you rather, Dynasty Edition, Amon-Ra St. Brown or CeeDee Lamb?
Damn, I have one.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
I'm going CeeDee Lamb.
I'm going on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'm probably going Amon-Ra St. Brown too.
A CeeDee Lamb ceiling is so low right now. Definitely Ty. But CeeDee Lamb's ceiling is so high, and he hasn't been able to keep up what he's getting drafted at. So I'm on St. Brown going in the 5th, 6th round, and he's wide receiver 10 right now, or a little bit lower than that because he didn't play last week. So give me Amon St. Brown.
I'm also taking Sun God St. Brown. To me, it's a matter of CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. CeeDee Lamb has the potential and has never done it. And when we drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, he didn't have the potential, and he has done it. He's proven us time and time again that, we all thought, oh, well, when Hawkinson and Swift come back, he's definitely not going to get as many targets. And then he started off this year wide receiver 7 with everybody being healthy. So to me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown at this point. I think that he needs to be slated above CeeDee Lamb in all dynasty formats. Anthony Ross, real quick before we get to yours. So you guys like dynasty. Do you like DFS or best ball? I play DFS on occasion, every Sunday during the football season. Nothing too serious like that. But
to be honest, I don't know what that is.
It's daily fantasy.
Yeah, I never played it. I haven't played it yet.
It's
in my dynasty leagues.
Yeah, so DFS, for those of you that are listening and do not know, is basically like a DraftKings or it's a lineup that you use for one period of time. You can have Thursday night DFSs. I have done DFS in the past. There are certain strategies to it, and maybe in the future I can do like a 20-minute starter sit before football happens, so that way I can help people out with their DFS lineups. But I definitely dabble in DFS. As far as best ball goes, I actually hate I respect that best ball exists for some people. I hate the idea personally of doing best ball because to me, being a fantasy manager includes having to set your own lineups, and best ball kind of takes that away. So for those of you that don't know, best ball, you don't have to set a lineup on a weekly basis. You draft a team, and it basically selects the highest scoring individuals to fill out that lineup for you for the week. Yeah, it takes the entire managing aspect away from it, if you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like adding the DH to the NL, where now the managers don't have to manage the pitcher at bats. But I dabble in. But I could probably give you help in both. I could give you suggestions in both, whatever the case may be. I am not a personal fan of best ball, but I do understand how it is played. So
I got dynasty relevant. Who would you rather have?
Okay,
you got Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker Jr.?
Breece Hall, and it's Kenneth Walker third.
Oh, sorry.
Breece Hall by like 500 yards.
Even with
Breece Hall by like 1,000,000 yards.
Okay.
The way that I look at my dynasty guys, I look at talent, I look at draft capital. So the draft capital is pretty close. One was the 42nd overall pick, the other was the 47th. Breece Hall is so much more naturally gifted as a running back than Kenneth Walker. And to be honest with you, I got Breece Hall probably as my RB2 right now in Dynasty. I think he's still behind Jonathan Taylor because he hasn't played a full season yet. But I could flip that in the offseason. I could make that change very quickly, especially with the emergence of, for those of you that are Dynasty players, Bijan Robinson. He's actually my Dynasty like RB5. I think I have it on my own personal rankings. And he's not even in the NFL yet. So,
okay. Tim?
Yeah, I'm going Breece Hall. You see, New York's offense is all built around him. They're more run heavy, I think Seattle will be.
It depends.
Their defense is so bad, they're going to have to throw the football a lot. And Kenneth Walker, while he'll get his 18 carries a game, just isn't a pass-catching running back. And Breece Hall can run 20 times a game and catch 10 passes. We've seen both already. Ken Walker just isn't that guy.
Okay, I like that. Okay. I'm taking Brees Hall too. I want to see what you guys have to say. I'm a huge fan of Brees Hall. I've been trying to trade for him everything I can, but no one's trading him because he's so good. I got lucky. I made a deal with one of our good friends, Garrett. I traded DeAndre Swift away and Zach Wilson for Brees Hall and a couple firsts, I think, something like that.
Yeah, so that's going to do it all here at BSing Sports. Guys, if you're commenting on YouTube or Twitch, wherever you may be watching this from, go ahead and give us a subscription. Like I've mentioned several times throughout the show, if we hit 100 subscribers by the end of the month, it's at the top of the screen. We are going to be doing a free giveaway for a random sub. So please go ahead, spread the word about us. We're here every Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern time, talking all types of fantasy football. Anthony Ross, thank you. You're the special guest tonight because you were real active in the comments. You stayed through the whole show. We appreciate that, as well as everybody that commented. Timmy Hawkins, thank you for coming on today, dude. We really appreciate, the interaction with just fans of the show and other guys who play Dynasty like us. Now you get to see what the show's like.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, well, that's going to do it here at BSing Sports, where we do a little BSing and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night, guys.